What's going on, everybody? It's Bex, and today we are going to be talking over my Week 7 match against the Karachi Kingdras. So we're just going to go over his team, go over my team, and then, you know, talk about the replay. I say this every week. You guys should know this by now. Anyway, let's move on. So first up, we got Dragapult. Obviously, one of the most threatening offensive bonds in a draft league. With its high base speed, that it pretty much outspeeds everything that's relevant. There's a couple things like a Cellcore. Okay, Regieleki is not irrelevant, but my point still stands. One of the fastest mons in the draft league, basically, and it's got a great offensive move to pull from, and it can work from both sides of the spectrum. The most classic set is the spec set. You got Draco Meteor, Shadow Ball, Fire Blast, Thunderbolt, Hydro Pump, and U-Turn still for momentum. You can use run Hex if you got some like T-Spec user on your team. So even though it has base 100 attack, all those special moves are super fantastic. Wide coverage on that side, so Paul can definitely make use of that. With its base 120 attack, you would use stuff like Dragon Darts. That gets access to Phantom Force. Unfortunately, it's best physical ghost move, and it's pretty bad, unfortunately. But it still is an option. It's not terrible, for sure. It's got stuff like Sucker Punch as well, and Steel Wing to deal with fairy types. You also got Dragon Dance as setup, obviously. Probably, it's make it absolutely ridiculously fast, make it absolutely strong. 120 attack is really good. Boosting that with Dragon Dance just makes it a lot better. It gets access to some pretty cool abilities too. Clear Body lets you ignore Intimidates and other speed drops like Sticky Webs. Infiltrator lets you ignore subs and screens. And Curse Body, you can use that with some like niche. Actually, I don't think Curse Body works on subs. Actually, I don't know about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Curse Body can still be a neat tech against, if you plan on switching Impala around on like resisted hits, you can probably potentially get some hacks going on there with Curse Body. Baton Pass isn't allowed, so we're not going to talk about that. So yeah, very very scary offensive bond. Oh, yes, one more set to mention is probably like a boot set. That's something more in use in OU, but like definitely could still apply in the draft league. Wisp Hex is a very nice potent combo. You also get access to Thunderwave as well if you want to use that over Wisp, or you can run both. I've seen that. U-Turn you can use on there for general momentum, and then usually the last move is like a dragon move. It can either be Dragon Darts or Draco Meteor, depending on if you want to hit Lissy harder or you just want to hit the general metagame harder. So yeah, in general, Paul is a very, very solid option. That's the reason why it's like probably like the highest points you could possibly spend on a Pokemon. Very, very solid. Anyway, next up we got Melmetal. Also another very, very fantastic Mon. Instead of being more like versatile and Paul, like Melmetal, you just run double Iron Bash and it's a lot of its physical coverage, and you just run like a choice band. You can also run like a protect set with leftovers, since it's got gargantuan HP, attack, and defense stats. Its Spadef is a little bit lacking in that regard to make it a overall wall or tank. Sorry, tank is the correct term. But with Assault Vest, you can mitigate that issue a little bit, and like since you have such high HP, you can still take a lot of special hits if you're just careful about which ones you take. To be fair, no reliable recovery, so you would have to use rest in order to mitigate that a little bit, but still is a very viable option. Double Iron Bash is one of its signature moves. It is its signature move, and it has basically a 51% chance to flinch a target because each hit has an individual 30% chance to flinch. It is a base 120 move boosted by Iron Fist. It is probably the most ridiculous move in Pokemon. Or like one of the most ridiculous moves because it has like no drawbacks. Well, the only real drawback to it is that it has low PP, but come on. Base 120 power, boosted by stat, boosted by Iron Fist. It's a ridiculous option. As I said before, wide physical options here. You got Earthquake, Brickquake, but you probably just use Superpower. You got access to high horsepower for terrain. You got Ice Punch. You got Thunder Punch as well. Unfortunately, no Fire Punch. So, you probably want to use the special attack, but you could also use Body Press. I know there are Iron Defense Body Press variants in Melmetal. They can work very well, and I think they work even better in draft leagues because which teams it would be best to use for. And yeah. Toxic can be used in order to cripple walls that, wall it. For example, my Rotom Wash switches in on Melmetal really, really well, and Toxic is able to, put that thing at a timer, which means Melmetal can just bide its time and wait for Rotom to die first before it can go and start killing things. Very solid option. Next up, we've got Moltres Galar. Pretty solid mon. It's got Berserk, so you know you can have some fun with that type of stuff. I don't know. Honestly, Berserk is like, well, it's not inconsistent, but it's just like, well, actually no, it is kind of inconsistent because sometimes like damage rolls just like screw you over, and then like they don't do half of your health, and then you don't get the Berserk range. Anyway, regardless of that, it doesn't have a lot of coverage. To be fair, it got mostly Dark and Flying moves. It's got some like normal and rock moves, and you know it's got stuff, but it's not super wide coverage. But what it does have is setup. It's an extremely good setup on. You got Nasty Plot and Agility to use, and with Berserk potentially helping boosting your special attack, you can really have a very scary mon on your hands if you let it set up for too long. You know, on screen teams, you would often use weakness policy on it to boost the special attacks even further, because you know it's behind screens and it's pretty bulky, so you know you would want to use perfecting moves to kill it, but alas. But yeah, very solid mon. You can also use it for. I think it does get the default, right? Oh, okay, maybe it doesn't. Okay, it doesn't. Okay, never mind then. Actually, it would be a decent default, at least. But yeah, unfortunately, you don't get access to that. You can probably run some utility sets with Taunt and U-Turn for pivoting. So yeah, there's also Rest Talk sets as well that tries to use a Berserk as much as possible. The Second Fury Wrath is basically just a stronger Dark Pulse, so not much to talk about there. Yeah, very solid mon. Next up, we got Blacephalon, and this mon 6-0s my goddamn team. So if you look at my team, basically I have one Shadow Ball resist, and that is a Bewear. And Bewear obviously most commonly runs Fluffy, and Fluffy makes it doubly weak to fire. So essentially, I have no real switch-ins to Shadow Ball from the Blacephalon. So yeah, very scary mon. Very extreme mon in the sense that, you know, it's pretty much all-out special attacker. Although you do have a decent attack stat if you want to fiddle around with that. You know, it's got absolutely no bulk to speak of. I like Kartana, except Kartana does have some decent defensive, physical defense in order to switch it on some physical attacks. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. You know, Fire Ghost coverage is very potent. Only like Dark Dragon or like certain like type combos can really resist that. Even then, it's got coverage to beat most of those things. Unfortunately, well, it doesn't have the one coverage to beat it, like a Dark type, which would be, you know, fighting coverage. Fortunately, it does not get Aura Sphere, and honestly, if it did get Aura Sphere, it'd probably be like, it'd be ridiculous, honestly. You can run both choice items on it, and by choice both, I do not mean Band, I mean Specs and Scarf. You can also run heavy duty boots because, you know, it is weak to rocks, so being able to switch it on rocks is a nice trait. You can, yeah. I know with the boot set, you can probably run like a Calm Mindset, a Substitute, and then just Flamethrower Shadow Ball. That set in particular really beats down on Blissey and Chansey because you can switch in. Well, you can't really switch in. You can switch on Seismic Toss, you can't switch in on status, but once you get in freely, you can set up a Substitute. Blissey and Chansey can't touch you, you just set up to High Heaven and you just go. And that set also runs a interesting speed stat. So basically, you know, Beast Boost, as you know, boosts your highest stat after you kill him on directly. So basically, what you would run on this set is that you only run like a little bit of special attack so you can boost your speed, as you can see in this configuration. Oh yeah, by the way, Beast Boost does not boost your HP, so it doesn't, I mean, obviously that doesn't work like that. So as you can see, your speed is a little bit higher than its special attack, which means that every time someone gets a kill, it would boost the speed stat. So you know, you can fiddle with that type of EV spread as well. Like maybe like run out a spec set, and then once you get a kill, you're gonna get faster, and then like, well, you know, they can't stop you as well. Or, you know, as before, as mentioned on the heavy duty boots Calm Mindset, obviously you have Calm Mind to boost your special attack already. You don't, you know, you probably want something to boost your speed stat as well. Anyway, yeah, Blacephalon overall, very solid option. It also gets, was it Edge? I swear, no, I did not get Edge Fall. I swear, I could have sworn it did. Anyway, getting off topic again. Next up, we got Geox's Defense. Very solid mon here. You know, probably like a top tier spiker. Because why the fuck would you like, why would you get spikes, man? It's crazy. It gets Stealth Rock as well. And it also gets access to a buff teleport in this generation. If you don't know, teleport will allow you to switch out at the end of a turn basically for free. well, not for free, but it allows you to switch out a data churn almost all the time because it has decreased priority, and then it allows you to get a free switch into something else. And since Deoxys defense is so bulky, teleport, like, usually you won't be taking too much damage from other things. So yeah. You can also fiddle around with cosmic power sets or like calm mind sets. You know, it's got good setup options, and you know, it's got the bulk to definitely set up as well. And special attack is a little lacking, or both attacking stats are a little bit lacking, but you know, definitely possible for sure. Yeah, so you can pretty much use like spikes, a hazard setter, or teleport for pivoting, and then you can also use it as maybe some sort of niche setup set. I see that put in work. You can also run like stuff like knockoff or utility and whatnot. It's got a wide loophole. You can definitely fiddle around with it a lot. And it's also got Trick Room to set a Trick Room as well. Yeah. Next up, we got Mega Heracross, the model with one of the highest attack stats in the game at a staggering 185. It's got some great coverage to reimburse that attack stat as well. With Skill Link, you are allowed to do stuff with Pin Missile. So basically, Pin Missile becomes a 125 base power move with 95% accuracy. So that's cool. Yeah, same thing works with Bullet Seed as well, except it's 100% accurate. And the Rock Blast 2, except that's 90% accurate. You also got other options too. You got Knockoff and you got Earthquake for other types of coverage. Yeah. And Bulk Up is a decent setup option. Curse is something you could use as well. And Swords Dance is something you want to use to really break through walls. Heracross also got access to Spikes this generation, so if you want to use it as a Spike Setter, you can. It's definitely not the worst Spike Setter. It's a very scary mon, of course, with a lot of switches. Kind of in the sense of, in the vein of Ash Greninja, where it's very offensive. You have to switch in order to, you know, go to your appropriate checks, and then you can lay down spikes. So yeah. Avalugg is next. One of the premier physical walls. Unfortunately, it is hindered a little bit by its ice typing, but that ice typing can also be a blessing occasionally. Not really, actually. It is in this case where, you know, Avalugg is ice type, and I don't want to take avalanches from it as someone who owns a Landorus Therian. So yeah, but in general, no, ice type is pretty bad. I'm sorry. You could use Ice Body, I guess, but okay, its abilities, you're probably just going to be using Sturdy, or maybe Own Tempo. I don't know. You're really worried about it. Anyway, getting off topic again. As an ice type, you know, you're going to be running boost on this thing probably, since it is weak to rocks. As a set, you know, it's got spin, so that's actually pretty good. It's a decent spinner. It's got recover as well. And, you know, if you're looking at its attacks, if you're looking at its stats, while its bottom half is pretty low, so that low SPDF really hinders it as being a general wall. It's got decent attack, so you could definitely run some physical sets with it. Don't sleep. And it's got a massive 184 defense stat, which really combines well with Body Press. So yeah, pretty solid month. Next up, we got Blastoise. Unfortunately, it's not Mega. Well, fortunately for me, it's not Mega. Otherwise, that would be terrifying. It gets access to Shell Smash in this generation, so you can definitely use a setup set with Blastoise. Common moves to use on offensive sets would probably be like, you know, just your choice of water move, and then like Aura Sphere, you got Ice Beam, you got, if you want to do physical, you got Earthquake. Oh, yeah, there's also Dark Pulse. Like, with Shell Smash, since its attack and special attack sets are pretty similar, you can run both sides of the spectrum, really. Generally speaking, special is a little bit better because it has a bit of a higher base move pool. So, like, higher base move pool, higher base power on its special move pool. So, you know, you got Hydro Pump instead of, like, Liquidation for water, for example. You got Ice Beam versus Ice Punch, for example. So, generally speaking, special is better. But if you want to run physical, you can. You know, if you're fighting against a Blissey, you know, you probably want to run physical. Or you could just run one physical move on into the vehicles. But anyway, I'm getting off topic again. Besides Shell Smash, Blastoise is obviously a very decent spinner. It's one of the only mons with a combination of Rapid Spin plus a flip turn move, or like a momentum gaining move, such as flip turn. So yeah, that's a little bit of a niche there. You've got Scald to burn stuff, honestly. Yeah, I mean, it also gets access to counter code as well if you want to run stuff like that. And yeah, that's pretty much the more notable sets. It gets access to refresh too. Unfortunately, no reliable recovery. You kind of sets Blastoise back a little bit, but you know, Sterile, a very solid mon. Also gets access to Water Spout. I almost forgot about that. So if you're running around like a spec set with Water Spout, that could be fun. Yeah. Next up, we got Wigglytuff, a very nice mon. It's got Wish, which is really good considering it has very high base HP, so you're going to be passing those fat wishes. Unfortunately, its defensive stats are a little bit lacking, but fortunately for it, it is pretty solid. Because of its high HP, it's not as noticeable. So if you invest a lot into its defenses, like it's still a decent take. It's got decent special attack as well, and you can combine it with like Editor, for example, to try to get a special attack boost. But probably you're going to be using Frisk, which is super useful, especially in draft leagues, because you want to know what type of items people are running. So you know, like this Toad has a Rindo Berry, so now I know that my Power Whip on something blah 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 won't do as much damage. Like the situations like that where Frisk are very useful. Q-Charm is also useful as well, but it's kind of luck dependent because not only there's a 30% chance to activate Q-Charm in the first place, there's also the fact that you get the right gender on Wigglytuff. But generally speaking, female is better than male because there's a lot of legendaries, for example, that are male over female. Like one I can think of is Landorus is always male, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, but I mean, you could be male, like Vespiquen is always female, for example. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, so generally speaking, Wish Protect is probably the go-to option on Wigglytuff. It is one of the few mons with Wish plus Teleport. Fortunately, it doesn't get a Regenerator to go with that or something like that. That would be terrifying. But yeah, Wish plus Teleport is... Actually, I don't know if it gets Wish plus Teleport. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. It's got a good move pool as well, for offenses at least. You can run Flamethrower, you got Dazzling Gleam, Hyper Voice, it's a normal type. It's got a wide move pool. Just go ahead and experiment. Next up, we got Dedenne, or Dedenne. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. You guys tell me. That same typing as Tapu Koko, which is nice, and then you realize its stats are kind of to be desired, unfortunately. It's got a good speed stat, but as a Pika clone, it's kind of destined to not be super amazing. I shouldn't be saying that because there's that whole Pachirisu won like 2014 or 15 Worlds or something like that. But this is singles. Let's be real. Singles is better than doubles because we'll let rats like this win fucking finals of OLT or whatever. Let's go. Okay. Anyway, so you get access to Cheek Pouch, which is a pretty cool ability. You can combine that with Citrus Berry, and you also have access to Recycle, so you can have like a pseudo recover in that regard. You get access to Nuzzle as well, which is a non-tauntable way of paralyzing your opponents. Gets Grass Knot to deal with ground types as well. So yeah, it's got a nice little move pool. Super Fang as well. It's pretty useful. And it got both U-turn and Full Switch, just like Tapu Koko. So you can always pivot out pretty much. Last one, we got the boy Bailey. Let's go. Yeah, didn't anticipate him to bring this, but with Eviolite, it is decently bulky. Not something to take light of. Besides that, not much to see here, unfortunately. As much as I love Baby's design, it's not that great and competitive, especially its evolutionary counterpart. Anyway, yeah, maybe you can set up screens. You could be like a pseudo player with a more therapy. Correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't it look like stuff get healed though? It does get healed though. Okay, so yeah, why would you be using Bailey then? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really need to say much about that. Okay, so that's his whole draft team, and then let's just go into what I have. So before I even started, I knew he would be running a physical Dragon Ball with Dragonite. I just felt it in my bones. Because all he really needs to hit my team is Dragon Darts and Phantom Force and Steel Wing. So right off the bat, we have a near max defense, max HP Diancie with a Babiri Berry to help ward off against Steel Wing. Pretty standard set. Outside of that, just Stealth Rock, Moon Blast, Diamond Storm, Mystical Fire, just for coverage and just stabs. Minus speed because I don't want to take away from the power of either Diamond Storm or Moon Blast / Mystical Fire. Next up, we got a Road of Wash, max HP, max defense to help against Melmetal, obviously. And we got Volt Switch, Hydro Pump, Will-O-Wisp, and Pain Split. Pretty self-explanatory set there. Since Rotom is decently bulky on its own, it also can act as a pseudo check for Blacephalon as well. So there's that. Although that wasn't my primary check to Blacephalon. Next up is Beach. Before I go on, actually. Yeah, so I said before Blacephalon 6 was my team. It really, really does. Like, honestly, Shadow Ball is super easy to spam, especially on this team, so they don't have the Beware, so he doesn't even have to guess. And, you know, Rotom, like, can only take a couple Shadow Balls. It doesn't have reliable recovery because Pain Split can be abused. You know, Landorus can also take a couple hits as well, but again, no reliable recovery. Hoopa can take a couple hits. I gave it AV, by the way, but again, no reliable recovery. Kyurem can't take multiple Shadow Balls, so like it's just really, really hard to deal with a Blacephalon against this team. I would have to be very proactive and making sure it doesn't get as much opportunity as it can. So yeah, anyway, moving on. We got a Beedrill. Thankfully, I have one of the mons that outspeeds a Dragapult purely without any items, so I have to... Unfortunately, as a side effect of that, I do have to run max speed on, or near max speed on my Beedrill, but you know, not a bad trade-off for always being able to be faster than Fault. U-turn, Poison Jab, obviously, due to adaptability, and what also stabs for adaptability. And then I got a knockoff as well, and then the last move I have is Aerial Ace. I just thought maybe something to hit Mega Heracross a little bit harder would be nice, so that's what I went with. Next up, we got Hoopa Unbound with the AV. Since it's got good HP and very high Spadef, it's able to take a lot of special hits with the Assault Vest, so that helps with Cephalon. Fortunately, I could get like Shadow Ball crit Spadef drops, so you know, still not the most reliable check, but it's the best thing I could get. I think like Shadow Ball's like a 4-hit KO. Mind Blow would be like a 3-hit KO, yeah, stuff like that. So we got Dark Pulse, Psychic, Focus Blast, and Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is for Moltres Galar in case you try to bring that, since Moltres does kind of wall most of the things I could bring. And then Dark Pulse, Psychic, pretty obvious. Focus Blast is for stuff like Avalugg and Melmetal. Although I don't anticipate on using it unless I have to, because as we see in last video, I'm not good at landing moves. Anyway, next up we got a Landorus Therian. In retrospect, I really should have given this Stealth Rock because he didn't have too much. I mean, he did have hazards on his side, but I didn't think he was gonna bring stuff like Deoxys Defense. So really, I think I should have just got rocks on the Landorus Therian because Diancie, it's a lot harder to get rocks in it because I pretty much can only bring it in when Dragapult comes in. And I need Dragapult. Dragapult can probably overwhelm my Diancie depending on the situation, so I would have to spam Moonblast and not get up rocks. So, anyway, well, it's Defog now. There's nothing I can do about it. I got Ixathera Earthquake just for general coverage. I mean, he doesn't have too many flying types, and the ones that do, well, I could have run Edge, but I didn't feel like it. And then I have Knockoff to get rid of items, which helps. And then I have Fly. So, you know, Mega Hero actually kind of sits on Landorus Therian a little bit, unless I have Fly. So I just ran Fly. I didn't even run like a Power or anything, I just want to run Fly. So, yeah. Because, I mean, Fly puts on a lot of pressure for him anyways, and if he's not anticipating it, he would still have to switch out, and then I could, you know, get another follow-up hit if I'm faster, blah, blah, blah. It's not like his faster mons really wanted to take a Fly anyways. Like, Dragapult doesn't want to take that Fly. It does a lot of damage. So, yeah. And last up, we got a Modest Specs Kyurem, pretty much standard Kyurem here. Basically, the only difference is that maybe you would run a Focus Blast with Draco Meteor, but again, pretty interchangeable. But yeah, so Draco Meteor is just for general hard hittingness, Ice Beam. I ran up both Ice Beam and Freeze Dry because he has a Blastoise, and then Wigglytuff if he wants to running Max Spadef. Freeze Dry wouldn't be able to two-shot, Ice Beam would. And then Earth Power is just for stuff like Melmetal and Blacephalon. So with that out of the way, let's get into the battle. Alright. So looking at the lead matchup here. Oh, I'm gonna switch sides. Make sure the music's off, because I don't want that to happen again. Anyway, so looking at the lead matchup here, you know, I think Beedrill has a decent lead here. I can U-turn out of everything except for Blacephalon. If I was worried about a Blacephalon lead, I could go something like Rotom, which would obviously scare it out. Or Hoopa as well would be a nice lead as well. Well, Hoopa wouldn't be as nice to lead because it can't really one-shot everything here. But it does exert a lot of pressure by being able to not be able to be switched into. That was a weird sentence. Probably grammatically incorrect. Don't worry about it. So anyway, I was just like, you know what? I'll just lead like a B. Even though I'm super weak to Blacephalon, I should be preventing that thing from coming in at all possible. But I was kind of being lazy. So I'll lead the B. He leads with Blastoise, and I'm just like, okay, as long as it's not Scarf Blastoise or something like that, I should be able to easily turn out here, and that's what happens. Go to Rotom Wash, Walls, Blastoise mostly, and he just pulls out the Whirlpool, actually. Pretty interesting tech. And then it goes for the Protect next turn just to get more chip on my Rotom. Obviously, I'm going for Volt Switch because, well, it's super effective. I pretty much figured out he was max HP, max Spadef, given the damage on U-turn with my Mega B, so yeah, I just go for Volt Switch again. Then this time I go into Hoopa Unbound. This time he Whirlpools again. And here I do a little bit of a trick movement. So I know he's gonna Protect here, so I'm just gonna Dark Pulse. He should know that Hoopa I can't kill Hoopa. If I'm a Specs Hoopa, I obviously would kill, or it's like some sort of like special attack boosting Hoopa, like I would be able to kill it. But if I'm AV or just don't have like a special attack boost, I won't be able to kill the Blastoise with Dark Pulse. So what am I doing? And then I pull out the Thunderbolt. So I don't know. That was just kind of a fun moment there. Goes to Melmetal here. Obviously going to go back to Rotom. Rotom walls this thing pretty well. I'm just going to go for the Wisp here to cripple it as he goes for Body Press on this turn, which is doing absolutely nothing. At this point, I'm like, okay, might as well get my Rotom basically back up to full health. I can just go for the Pain Split here. Yeah, because Melmetal has way more health than a Rotom, and Body Press is doing nothing, as you can see. I just go for Hydro Pump here to get some damage, try to see what its set it is. From the outset, since I saw no item, and since I saw that it was taking hits pretty well, actually I didn't hit it yet at this point. But yeah, I was figuring it was probably Assault Vest, given that he didn't show leftovers and he switched up moves. So, you know, Assault Vest is kind of one of the only options left. He could have been Resto, but I didn't think he was. Hydro Pump miss, not such a big deal, but you know, missing Hydro Pumps is kind of giving me flashbacks to missing that Stone Edge last week. But anyway, I just go for Volt Switch here. I pray to God he doesn't click Ice Punch as I go to Landastarian, and thankfully he does not. Goes for Body Press again. Obviously, this is doing absolutely nothing to my Landers after the burn plus the Intimidate, and I just go for Earthquake to knock out the Melmetal. Obviously, he will bring in the Avalugg next. I go to Rotom Wash here because Rotom Wash is a really good matchup this game. Just because it kind of walled a lot of things. It walled Melmetal, it walled Blastoise, and it walled Avalugg. So it's really nice for me. I think I just go for Wisp again as he pulls a very, very risky but smart switch into his Blacephalon. But I just like, okay, I'll go for Hydro Pump now. But he stays in, and I miss Hydro Pump. And I'm just thinking, like, if I miss this next Hydro Pump, I'm very, very screwed because my Hoopa's already chipped. If he gets like a crit or something, I'm well on my way to getting 6-0 by a Scarf Shadow Ball sweep. All right. Thankfully, he stays in again, doesn't get the kill, and I'm able to knock out the Blacephalon Hydro Pump. Thank God. Next up, he brings Dragon Ball. I'm just going for Full Switch. I'm not going to pull any risky doubles. So he goes for Dragon Darts. I just go into my Diancie here. He goes to Avalugg as I go for Moonblast. Does quite a bit of damage and indicates that he has no Spadef at all, and I just go for the Moonblast again to knock it out. Goes back into Pulp for some reason. Goes for the Steel Wing, but I have that Babiri, so I'm able to 1-1 the Dragon Ball with the Moonblast. Super nice for me. Next up, he goes into the Heracross, gets the Pin Missile, and gets Moxie boosted because, you know, that's a very smart move. You know, not megaing first to abuse Moxie. I go into Hoopa here because I'm just gonna get damage off. Yeah, my Hoopa is faster than a max speed Adamant Heracross, so, you know, that's kind of what I was figuring he was going to aim for. He turned out to be like max HP, max Def, which was why he takes the Psychic so easily. Unfortunately, he misses Pin Missile. Actually, this is the first time I've ever seen Pin Missile miss. I always thought it was 100% accurate before this moment, but yeah. So, obviously, because of the Pin Missile miss, I'm able to take the game here by going for another Psychic, and I win the game 4-0. So, you know, in summary, very good for me. Thankfully, I didn't have too bad Hydro Pump luck, but missing 2 Hydro Pumps immediately just, you know, didn't stir confidence in me. But thankfully, I was able to land it when it most mattered. If I got it on the first turn I went against the Blacephalon, you know, my Rotom would have been a much more healthy, so I probably couldn't be able to deal with a lot of stuff, but that's beside the point. Thankfully, Rotom was able to get the Hydro Pump. Yeah. So, yeah, I did pretty well. Thankfully, was missing moves, just okay. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Yeah, I'm thinking about putting out a mid-season review video about this league. Just because I've seen a lot of interesting matches. You know, they're not getting any press though because, you know, I'm only recording my own matches. So I kind of wanted to review as many replays as I can, just a lot of them, and try to pick up like the best ones, or try to just give like a mid-season summary, see how everyone's doing, and yeah, so that's probably gonna come out next. I don't know when it's gonna come out, probably next week. Hopefully I can get it sooner, but if not, So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.